I'm not getting the sound. Are other people getting it?
I heard you.
One second.
Do you hear the poet?
No. Let's see here. Is that what we're doing now, listening to the poet?
Yes, hold on 1 second. Are you able to hear the sound?
Breaking up.
Ms. Brantley, maybe we can suspend this and perhaps if we have time at the end,
Okay,
if
let's do
there's,
that.
yeah, okay. So I appreciate if you put that agenda back up. Okay, we're gonna have a wellness check-in. And if we have new attendees, we will recognize them if you have not been on a previous call. I'm looking at the list of people that we have here and trying to see, okay, who represents Ronald? Okay, well, I'm not going to worry about that because evidently they're on mute. So we'll go through and we'll have our wellness moment. We'd like for everybody to basically just tell us what's going on, whether or not you've had a new grandchild, whether or not anything big has happened in your life that we need to know of, and just generally how you are doing and the people that you love and care for are doing. And we'll go around the room with that. And so I'm going to start out by asking Dr. Grace Butler to give us a wellness update.
Oh my. All right. My week has, my 2 weeks from the last meeting have simply been wonderful. They've been productive, and hopefully I'll be able to share a minute or two with you on the things that I have been working on. Family are doing well. I am doing grandparent duty that many of you probably have had to be involved with. I'm a late grandparent. I have a 4.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and I do a little taxiing for them. So all is well.
Wonderful. Okay. Rem Johnson, we're going to let you go next. David.
Man, the smell of victory in the morning smells like panacea for the mind.
Yes.
Yeah. So waking up on the 20th was great, and it's like a breath of fresh air. So I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my brother. So Ms. Carter.
Well, I just want to say thank you to our, sounds like our poet laureate in, I don't know, who's moving forward, Dr. Johnson, Reverend Johnson. That was beautiful.
Yes.
I just want to just thank you all for the opportunity to be with you again. I'm good. Obviously, I had a beautiful day, as did others, on the 20th, and seeing the celebration and participating with it. And back in the struggle, and looking forward to, moving forward with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Carter. Okay, Nancy?
Well, we're doing fine. My husband and I, he's teaching about pruning over the internet at the moment. Um, Congratulations to Omawali and Jimmy on their wedding anniversary. The two things I thought were the most remarkable about the inauguration was the night before, they actually used Leonard Cohen's Alleluia instead of, Brahms or Beethoven that we usually get. And the next day in Biden's speech, he actually mentioned white supremacy, which, I imagine made a lot of people fall off their chairs.
Yeah, yeah, that is very significant. Thank you. So, Ms. Arthur?
I've been great for the past 2 weeks, especially on the 20th. I've been sleeping lighter and peacefuler. It's a new day, a new dawn. Family's doing good. Nothing bad on our end to report, thank God. Just waiting for our vaccine shots and waiting in line. Other than that, we're all good on my front.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Ms. Brandon, do you know who's on the iPhone? It's represented as iPhone.
Yeah, I don't have a name for the person that's on the iPhone.
Okay, but they do have the floor if they would like to give a word. And so, Ms. Brandon, I'm gonna let you do your check-in, please.
Were they about to say something for the iPhone?
Omawali, this is David Taylor. That might be me.
Oh,
Yes,
that
sir.
is you. Let me rename you.
Yeah, so Mr. Taylor, just give us a check-in so far as a wellness check-in, how the people that you care for and love, how they are doing, whether it's physically, mentally, or spiritually.
Thank you, Brother Omawali, and congratulations from my wife and I to you. We're fine. Everybody's well. The past 2 weeks, I've been working on a project with Black Methods for Church Renewal, and I'd like to share that with you at some point. We were given 5,000 books by an author, Willie J. Alexander, former Houston Alder, and it's titled Entering the Promised Land. And Books for Development, which is a nonprofit organization which collects books and sends them to villages in Africa and in Southeast Asia. They've donated 5,000 books to Black Methods for Church Renewal. And I'd like to talk to you about how we can make sure that those get to people who can really gain from the experience of reading that book.
Well, yes, we welcome that conversation, and everybody's free to join in on that conversation on how we might get those books to the right sources. So yes, now Ms. Brandley.
Okay, yes. Well, good afternoon. Well, good morning, everyone. I am doing well. I will be starting back traveling on February the 2nd, I believe, or February the 3rd, but I still will be available for these calls. Mr. Omawali can reach out to me, and any one of you guys can reach out to me if you need me to send any information regarding the calls. This meeting is being recorded, so I will be sending this meeting out for anyone who missed this meeting, that they can still have the details as to what took place in the meeting. Thank you. And my family is actually doing well.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Mr. Gary.
Hi, we're good, family's good, and just happy to see everybody, and feeling the same sense of relief and ready for the next stage of our work.
Okay, thank you so much. Next we had vaccine considerations. If you want to show of hands, you can raise your hand if you've had the vaccine. has anybody had any adverse reactions or like to give us any kind of report on the administration of the vaccine?
Well, I've had the first round, and the second round will be next week. My daughter, who is a physician, had the first round and the second. And the first round was fine. You know, your arm is a little bit sore, but she had some problems with the second one. As a matter of fact, she had to take time away from work. Those and other things that gave her discomfort. But she said, this is fine because it shows that the second round, it shows that the vaccine is doing what it's supposed to do and my body is responding in the way that it should. So I share that for those who are going to be getting the second round. There might be a little bit of discomfort. I'm looking to see what's going to happen with me next week, and I'll be able to report in the next call.
Thank you, Doctor. Does anybody else have any observations, comment for us on the vaccine?
I'm scheduled to take mine on this Tuesday, first round on this Tuesday.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm happy to hear that. Anybody else?
I just have a question for those of you who have had it. Are you accessing it through your normal medical system, or are you calling the health line or the health department and getting scheduled through some central distribution?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was able to get mine because somebody knew me.
Yeah.
And here's my understanding. My understanding may not be completely complete. That is, we know that the vaccine has to be stored in certain climate. And once on a given day, they take it away from that climate, and there's some that's left over at the end of the day, they really want people who haven't had appointments with them or anything else. They want to be able to utilize it rather than to destroy it. So, you know, as an aside, if you happen to know someone who might be a nurse or doctor or something like that, and ask them about that. And mine was, I got a call, come immediately. Because they were at the end of the day, I dropped what I was doing and I scooted on up there, and I was able to get the vaccination. So that might be one way. I don't know how to access, you know, the ones that are community-wide, because what I see the same news that everybody else sees, the spots were all taken in the first 10 minutes. So my suggestion is, if you know, your doctor, nurse, or someone that may have access, just ask that question. If, you know, at the end of the day, can they just call you and let you run up and get it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting mine through the VA, so there's not really an issue in that regard. I wish everybody was a veteran, so nobody had a problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Angela, I guess that's the best information that we can get. Your PCP appears to be the preferred route to take to get the vaccine. The city of Houston, they might open 2,600 or maybe 3,500 slots. And within a couple of hours, all of those slots are full. So I'm hoping that your PCP can be of advantage. Okay. All right.
Omowale, this is David.
Yes, sir.
My doctor is with the Methodist Hospital system, and they by record have received more of that medication than any other. And if you are on my Methodist website, the Methodist website, they'll send you out information letting you know when they have available vaccines. And I'm looking at my site right now, and they're telling me that I should stay tuned because they're getting close to me.
Okay, wonderful. I'm gonna also urge people, when you do get the vaccine, to go to the CDC website and sign up, because once you sign up on the CDC website, create a profile, and they will let you know when it's time for your second follow-up shot. They will also find out if you've had any allergic reactions, and then if it's been of any severity, they'll give you advice on that. So it's a real simple process to do on your cell phone. Okay. Is anybody else have anything to say on the vaccines? If not, we'll move to the next item, and that is Ms. Carter. So Ms. Carter is going to tell us what has happened with the quest for a study circle regarding the book Cast.
Okay, thank you. So I had an opportunity to meet with Dr. Kevin Thompson and get his thoughts on moving forward with the study circle for CAST. I then shared with hopefully all of you the update on that conversation. And essentially it was to allocate 7 Saturdays and about an hour session each time to the 7 parts of the book Cast, and that those sessions would start on initially the first Saturday of February, and then be also on the 4th Saturday of that month and subsequent months. Well, with some feedback from you, I went back to Dr. Thompson and proposed, based on recommendations from this group, that the sessions would occur on, not on consecutive Saturdays. So he then accommodated that request, and he now was recommending that the sessions would be on the 2nd and the 4th Saturdays of the month. So that would be February, March, April, and then one wrap-up session on the 2nd Saturday of May. There were some discussions about time frame for the sessions to occur. They'll occur on Zoom. The time frames that were recommended were 10:30 a.m., noon, and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So far, I've heard back from 6 of our members: David Johnson, Robert Randall, Nancy Edwards, Dr. Grace Butler, and Kevin Thompson, who have all indicated availability for 4 o'clock for those sessions. And so that's where we currently stand, but I wanted to just open it up. Others have other concerns or feedback, but that's where we currently stand, that we have sessions which will now begin on February 13th, the 2nd Saturday in February, and go through the 2nd Saturday in May, and that they would, each session would be dedicated to discussion of a part, one of the 7 parts of CAST. And right now, we've had more indications for 4 o'clock in the afternoon than any other time. So if anybody had any concerns or feedback on that, would be great to hear them.
Ms. Carter, I'm okay with 4 o'clock. I'm sorry I didn't respond.
Oh, thank you. That's Ms. Branley?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great.
4's good for me.
Thank you,
4
Cheryl.
works well for me as well.
I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm not able to.
This is Claire Shinet, 4 o'clock It's a good time for me as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Angela, my only comment is to some of the supplementary material that you have been tackling and digesting to more or less seed the discussion for the book, that you send that to the participants or the persons who have agreed to be participating. If you know, things like the white fragility and several other supplementary materials. And if anybody has some complementary materials that you would like to share, I'll ask you to talk to Ms. Carter, talk to Angela about that.
That's awesome. And all I would need is everyone's email address. And I think I have most of those, but I fear I don't. So that I need to figure out how to get the most comprehensive list of the email contact information so that
I can provide you with the email contacts of everyone. You could just tell me their names and I'll send it to you.
okay.
And we can table that offline. I can call you later. Or we can.
Perfect. That's perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this, Ms. Brandon.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Angela, for the work that you and Dr. Thompson have been doing. I've been keeping some of you and Ms. Brandon posted on the AARP work that has been taking place. And Eddie Oram is going to proceed. We're just waiting on the starting date for the AARP. Normally, AARP does more or less of a presentation where there's dissemination of information related to caregiving. But Eddie, after hearing a little bit about the physical and mental health configuration of our group and the people that we're concerned about, is recommending that the group be a little different in that we would express some of the desired outcomes that we would like to have regarding this caregiving and aging group. One of the things that Eddie recommended is that what is becoming a pressing issue is that many of the people who are caregivers, they've had toxic relationships that they have been conditioned by early in their lives, and they bring those into the caregiving relationships. So he's trying to pioneer finding a way to speak to the problems that the caregivers bring in to the caregiving relationship. But we're waiting on a date and some proposed times from Eddie, and I will share that with you as soon as I get it from Eddie. But he has in fact agreed to speak to his management team and go forward with us, and they seem to be excited about it. Is anybody having questions, comments? Okay, well, if not, we'll move forward. I understand that there have been 27 executive orders. There are about 270 executive orders that the president can take. Most of them are in the field of immigration, but at any rate, you can click on that link and look at the 17, and then you can find the other 10 that have been done since the New York Times did its report. Does anybody have any comments about the executive orders? Okay, now we were just going to talk a little bit about any critique that you have of the inauguration. So does anybody have any comment about the critique of the inauguration?
Glad it happened.
Okay. Okay. Well, looks like we have a rare display of unanimity. One of the things that I wanted to mention is that the only thing that I think that might have been overlooked is that the First Nations, the Native Americans, didn't have a role in the inauguration, unless somebody can correct me. I didn't see a Native American um, presence that was broadcast to the nation about the seminal role that Native Americans have played in this American history. Does anybody have any feedback on that? If not, it's not anything that we really need to discuss, but that was my observation.
Well,
Was
there
that
were a couple of places where in the montage of, everybody in America kind of rush through thing that they did, there were, some people whose attire would tend to indicate that they were Native Americans because they were wearing feathers and whatnot, but they didn't get any speaking roles,
Yeah,
which I think is good to point out.
yeah. Well, matter of fact, I was just thinking when you said wearing feathers, um, the um, the fellow that contravened the Capitol, the Norseman with the horns and that costume that he had on, he had feathers too, but he wasn't a Native American. uh, just the aside there. But the other thing I wanted to say is that I was sitting up with my wife and I said, when Garth Brooks sang Amazing Grace, I've been listening to Amazing Grace since I was a little boy. And those middle stanzas or after the first stanza, as long as I've been listening, I've never heard those stanzas. But then again, it means that I need to go back and I need to look at the official version of Amazing Grace, and I might see those stanzas that I've been overlooked. God Brooks, he might have taken too many liberties with that. Um, that's just an insider look at it, but we all think it was splendid. Now, on the www.buildbackbetter.com, we were hoping to be able to get some of you who either yourselves or somebody you knew who had the kind of resumes, the credentials to actually appeal to be involved in the Biden administration by going to the website. So that was the primary deal about joining the Biden administration. And there's also a link if you know somebody who wants to be a White House fellow, they can do that. They can apply for being a White House fellow there. And I think you might have a good chance, especially if you work with us, because Congressman Green and Kamala Harris, my understanding is that they're very close. So, and then we have some other leverage there. So if you need to go ahead because the administration has actually begun and it's supposed to be 4,000 positions that they were trying to fill. They might all be filled by now. I do not know, but I will try to find out. Okay. Um, okay, now, one of the things that I'm hoping that we can do it is one thing to know your resume, but it's another thing to know your personal stories. And I think that that has been dramatized, illustrated by conversations that I've had with several of you. I know some of you have a Scottish ancestry. I had a conversation with Dr. Butler, and I know something about her personal story from the conversation that we had. So we in fact trying to get people to do the bonding questionnaire. And I wanted to take a brief pause for the purposes of strengthening the beloved community connections, I wanted to ask you all on that questionnaire that we have here, is that I'm going to ask a couple of people who have not given their comments, the autobiographical comments about the Pick 3, the bonding questionnaire. And I'm going to ask a few of you all to pick 3. And I'm hoping, I think it's everybody I'm asking to pick number 5. So I don't know if we have a volunteer of the 11, but Claire, is this something putting you on the spot that you can do right now within about 3 minutes? Okay, I'm assuming that she's on
Mute.
mute. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. Now, the bonding questions, I don't see them. Are they on 1, 2, 3, share your greatest accomplishments? Is that where we're starting?
Okay, yeah. Okay, wait just a minute, because evidently the others are not there. Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask the question and have you to respond to it, but we need to do this in Jeopardy lightning round.
Okay.
Okay, so do you have a multicultural, multinational, racial, multiracial, multi-gender family? Is your family diverse, and does it look like America?
Yes, it does.
Tell us a little bit about the composition of your family so far as cultures, races.
African American, basically, but in my family we have Dutch. We also have some Spanish, and we do have an ancestry and one member of our family that we talk to now that's in the indigenous, that's Native American.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. What is your greatest accomplishment?
Oh, it's yet to come. It's yet to come. I really do feel that. I have been blessed with so many wonderful things in my life and things that I felt like I've achieved, but I still haven't gotten that greatest one yet.
Okay. What is your main talent or superpower?
I think my ability to listen.
Okay.
I really do feel that, and the ability to connect with people. I think those are my superpowers.
Okay. By the way, just to show you how the evolution of the beloved community is going, I did ask Claire, and I was kind of feeling around seeking permission, but I asked her, I said, how did you catch your husband?
Well, that was, and I told you it was pretty easy. It was by accident. I was in college, and as a matter of fact, I was a freshman, and I went to a party and met him. My girlfriend wanted to meet his roommate, so he came. So we got stuck talking to each other, and we made crazy little remarks, and then we hit it on from then on, and had a 7-year courtship, and now we're in our 44th year of marriage.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
Wonderful. Okay, so I think we might have time to take one more person. If somebody wanted to volunteer, if not, I'm going to select somebody because I'm looking through my notes and I see a few people that we have not we've not hosted with this. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to ask Miss Nancy Edwards. Nancy, are you there?
Yeah.
What is your greatest accomplishment?
I don't know. maybe having survived to this point.
Oh, okay, all right then. Okay, all right then.
Without having had to spend any time in jail, had anything cut off of me, or
Okay,
any other disasters.
okay,
It's pretty amazing that I have come through.
okay, wonderful then. Now, number 5, which is, do you have a multicultural, multinational, multiracial, multigender? Do you have a family that looks like America?
Well, I come from the East Coast, and on the East Coast, at least when I was growing up anyway, which is a long time ago now, you were asked that question all the time, where'd your family come from, or that sort of thing. And so I was always answering that question and saying English, Scotch, Welsh, and Swedish. And two of my grandparents, my mother's mother and father, came to the United States from Europe, and got married in the United States, and became Americans, and pretty much cut off their ties to Europe. My father's family is from New England, and has some parts of it have been in the country for a long time, and we have no information on exactly how long. But it's interesting to me that even though I'm one generation removed from being from New England, I actually grew up on Long Island, but there's an impress of New Englandness that I think is being very concerned with truthfulness and faithfulness and things like that, that can persist even into the next generation from somebody who comes from New England.
Yeah. So Nancy, we can't parse this out right now, but I consider you to be a non-racist. I've had a kind of connection with you where I didn't feel racial animus or racial divide. But what I would like for you to do, not now, but in the future, to explain to us is how you, as a white person, came to such a non-racial position. But I know that we don't have time to do that now. But I'd like for you to think about explaining that to us, because I would hope that we can employ you to help us understand how racism gets so ingrained from people who appear to be just visually, people who appear to be nice for you. How does racism get so ingrained? But anyway, that's a future question, but I hope I didn't put you on the spot, but I do want you to do that as we move forward. The last question I'm going to ask you, do you have a trans friend?
Well, I don't have what I could really call a friend, but I do know a couple of people that are trans, and it's was like I know two of them, and one is pretty obviously trans, and the other one, I would never figure it out unless I just happen to know.
Okay, all right then. Okay, so they might be closeted too.
Well, Um, I know both of them through church, and at church they're out. I don't know what they do
Okay,
in the rest
all
of their
right then.
life.
Okay, yeah, this is new terrain for us, and so we're just gonna stay tuned. But I want to thank you for your candor and transparency, and we're gonna be back with trying for us to know each other and know our personal stories. But in the interest of time, try not to go but past 12:15. In terms of the policy work going forward, let me also indicate if you have a way to improve this bonding quest that we have to knit us closer together, just give me your suggestions about how to do this. Now, the next thing we have is community engagement, participatory democracy. And so Nancy and Dr. Butler, Dr. Butler has a sophisticated plan for what I'm calling flipping Texas or turning Texas blue. And we also have some considerations given by Nancy for that purpose. And I put Nancy's comments in the minutes, as you will see, which I received from her from an email. But what we wanted to do is to take about 5 minutes and see if Dr. Butler can tell us the core parts of what her plan is for turning Texas blue.
Thank you for this opportunity. Actually, I have really been giving a lot of thought to the experience that we've all gone through. That is, with what the going back to the beginning of last year when we were all talking about who's in office and who we want to get out of office. From that, a nonprofit organization was formed that we call Project Voter Turnout. Now, within the framework of Project Voter Turnout, there are 3 components that we will be discussing with the hope that we'll be adopting. One is education. The second is actually a voting process itself. And the third is turning Texas blue, or turning any state blue. I want to speak a little bit about the first component, which is education. I believe that if we target, and this is directly related to turning Texas blue, if we target 16 and 17-year-olds with a lot of education about the electoral process and voting and the candidacy, giving them a variety of opportunities, 16, 17, by the time they turn 18, they are very well informed and they are ready to become activists. And so I've kind of outlined various session topics of a curriculum for the 16 and 17-year-olds. That's the target population. And the second target population within that education component 1 are those people among us who are registered, but they simply don't show up to vote. There are 5 sessions that I've identified, and I think I'm thinking of this as a long-term way in which to turn Texas blue. What do we accomplish with that? 1, people become much better informed, and that is a problem. I think when people are much better informed, they're inspired and they're committed and ready to go. As a part of this program, we hope to be able to enlist the participation of leaders, civic leaders, organization leaders, and so on, to allow the participants in this program to have an internship. There, they will get hands-on experiences about what is involved in the whole electoral process, electoral system, and so on. The internship will also allow those in the community who are leaders to become aware of this program. It will be highly competitive if it works the way the vision is right now. We hope to have an essay contest for them and so on. What I would like to convey to this group is we certainly would love to have those who at least maybe piqued your interest a little bit to come on board with us and work with us in that endeavor. Now, the second component, I'll just say a minute or two about the second and the third. The second component is really the voting process itself, where they can become electoral volunteers. They might be actually recruiting others to vote, and so on and so on. It's all around the electoral system. And the third component, turning Texas blue, and I said turning a state blue. The hope there is that we can schedule webinars with folk who have already done it. And of course, the name Stacey Adams, always at the forefront, Latasha Brown, and others like that. If we are able to turn to Texas, and this one really, we need to jumpstart that as soon as possible, because we don't want to wait until almost election time to start talking about, okay, let's run to the polls and turn it. It's a long-term haul. If we're talking about turning the state blue, and it will require the engagement, the commitment of those who are already involved in the political process. It also will entail the engagement of hearing from those who have done it. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. And so we can benefit from those who have already been very active in bringing about a significant impact within their state. I'll stop. You told me what, 2 minutes, and I've already gone over my time.
No, that's okay. So, Nancy, how does that comport with what you were thinking?
Well, it's remarkably similar, actually, that we were thinking along the same lines. And I think you're right to say that we should start with getting these speakers from other places who have done this, so that we can utilize their expertise in making our own plans. And also because if we want to get involved with schools and get involved with 16 and 17-year-olds, which I think is a very good idea, but we have this COVID problem about doing it right now, that they're students are going to school on a limited basis, and also they are keeping, once they are there, they are trying to keep other people from coming and possibly bringing viruses along with them. So whether we'll be able to do any of that this year, I think is questionable.
Okay.
May I comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is not designed to go into the schools. I've had experiences where you're trying to get approval from HISD or the TEA, and it takes forever. This is a program that is envisioned to be so highly sought after that the participants will seek the opportunity to participate. Much of the education part of what we're talking about will be done through means of social media. We're not looking to get classroom exposure experiences, social media, and that's really, and having done some research, that's really the way young adults, millennials are accessing information. Colleges, universities are not having face-to-face classroom experiences. So the design here is to use more of social media as much as we possibly can, and not going through the state or HISD to get students. That they will be self-selected. They will see such value in this program that they will seek to become a participant in the program.
Okay, let me give the remainder of us an opportunity to say whatever you would like to say regarding what you've heard.
May I say just one more thing? I would love to have those of you who find this to be of interest. I'd love to have you come on board.
I would just say it's very important work, and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So if we don't have any further comment, what I'm going to recommend is that some of us who were interested in participatory democracy activities, that we form a task force with Dr. Butler and Nancy, David Johnson, because of your interest with the electoral college abolishment, that we merged together in a task force, or we might even call it a subcommittee, for the purposes of trying to see how we move this from theory to practice. So Dr. Butler, David Johnson, Nancy, certainly myself, I'm interested in being part of this task force. Dr. Butler, I'd like for you to make available your project, you know, through sending out an email and let everybody have access to that. And then I think that I will work with you to seek a date where we can assign some responsibilities and we can further discuss, assuming that we have enough agreement, a action plan, maybe a strategic plan in terms of what we need to do to go forward, meaning that we would come up with some specific, measurable, achievable, or attainable goals, that they would be time bound and realistic. You know, that SMART model, that we can put that forward and we can have something present back to us. I think that Nancy had a very sage suggestion, is that we're going to have to prioritize the projects that we can do. Now, as you notice, I had included a few things because I'm looking as to what will in fact change dynamics in this country. Now, Muriel Bowser from
Before we leave that, Mr. Omawale, after the last meeting, I had an opportunity to connect with Dr. Butler and review her journal outline for the curriculum. And I really think that all should review the curriculum before making a decision. I felt that it had a lot of value and the direction in going to make these changes.
Thank you.
I endorse your comment. I endorse what you're saying, Claire. So, okay, let's have Dr. Butler, if you don't mind, Dr. Butler, is that we'll make this available to everybody with the help of Ms. Brantley. And, I'm thinking that in regard to a subcommittee, of course, Claire, I'm putting your name in, Dr. Butler, Nancy, David, and myself is to be part of this task force. Is that okay with everybody?
There's one other person that I had a substantial conversation with after the last meeting, and that's David Kahn.
Very definitely.
He was very interested, and his brother has a position at the University of California, Riverside. And I was really intrigued with some of the research that his brother has done, because it's in the area of digital civic education. And I think that if we have conversation together, there could be some points of tangency. Also, Miss Angela Carter, I haven't heard you say anything, but she and I have had some good conversation about this as well.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. Um, well, it sounds like we have the beginnings of a plan, and the beginnings of the plan is put forth a task force and have the kind of discussion that we can't do on this open call because of the limitations. I'm going to add David Kahn's name to the idea of the task force, Dr. Butler, and I'm going to ask that we have your leadership in pulling the task force together.
And I would like to be involved as well. Angela.
Who's that? Angela?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'm going to be doing some things, but I'm going to wait to do anything substantially until we actually have our first conversation. So far as Rodney Griffin and Carole Robertson, Texas Democratic Party, Civic Sunday and Justice Sunday, I'm going to hold up until we actually have our first conversation, just to let you know that under the what's happening in the legislature related to voter suppression, the Sandra Bland Act, and qualified immunity and deadly force, there are some initiatives that are going on in the legislature. So I will be trying to bring more information to you because it's something that we can assist, but there are other people who are playing the critical roles in trying to get these initiatives implemented. All we have to do is assist, but I will bring that information to the group. And I will bring the DC statehood information. David Johnson has already given us a presentation on electoral reform, college reform. And so I'm asking David to be part of that group in the initial discussion. So Claire, can we move, what's your thinking? Can we move forward with the task force idea?
I think it's a great idea. And I have some other thoughts that I would like to share with with the task force the first time we connect, because like I said, I had a chance to digest that over and over. And, you know, some of those parts in social media is one of them, but there are some other areas that I think that we could use that in as well in getting the youth involved.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, well, very good. I think that we have some agreement and we can move forward on this. There are a few other items that we need to get before we leave and the meeting today. I'm asking Ms. Brandon to put together a 90-day calendar for us, understanding that we are going to have a strategic plan, maybe not a SWOT analysis, but just a strategic plan. And we've got to start thinking about multiplying Latino and Asian participation and what it is that we do. A few of you have offered to send money, and I have said, let's hold up on that now. We will have probably an ability, because some of these things are going to have to be resourced. And so we will talk about resourcing those, but I thought it was a little bit premature to send any money. I wanted to give a moment to Shara Gary, who has, I might not have the title correct, but she has put together a compelling book on how to prevent heart disease. Cheryl, can you perhaps give us a what we need, whether that's a synopsis, and then you can tell people how to get the book.
Okay, at a future meeting, right?
No, I want you to give just a little snapshot now.
talk about putting people on the spot, but thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
The title is Joyful, Delicious Vegan Life Without Heart Disease. And it's really just my personal journey, having a family history on both sides with pretty severe heart disease and cardiovascular issues. And I didn't say anything on the check-in, but a cousin of mine, which is typical in our family, was just hospitalized this weekend with a stroke, and that's probably her second. And she's pretty much had to deal with that all of her life. And so I had an interest in it from an early age, and eventually, kind of early on, thought diet was really important. Had been reading and studying about it, changed many things in my lifestyle. Thought I would never have to deal with it. I was eating primarily vegetarian, maintaining, good weight, active, regular, if not consistent exercise. And then in my 50s, my blood pressure started creeping up, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, I did this, I did that, I did the other. But anyway, the book talks about what my journey was and how I got to the point where I no longer have the symptoms or need for medication. And it is not as difficult. Plant-based nutrition, plant-based therapies, nutritional therapies have been demonstrated for efficacy for decades. I talk a lot about Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn's plan. There's also Dr. Dean Ornish. They treated Bill Clinton when he had his heart health issues, and actually converted Bill, who probably ate as many cheeseburgers as Donald Trump, to a plant-based diet, and to eventually being able to improve his heart health. So it's a personal story, but it's also a culmination of a lot of reading and experiences, my ups and downs, and coming to a place where it basically has changed my outlook on pretty much everything, because the joy of being able to do something as simple as eating and to kind of affirm the blessing of health that is natural. And it's only unnatural for us to think that you should be healthy into your 70s, 60s, even 80s and above, because our lifestyle runs counter to that. And it's really lifestyle, it's not genetic programming that's the key factor. So my whole idea with the book is to base it around the joy of discovering something that is your birthright that we have lost sight of. So the book will be, it's available actually on now, it's available now for pre-order pretty much anywhere on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all the major outlets. The actual pub date is May 25th this year. So I'm really busy. That's why sometimes I can't join in everything that, we're all doing. So that's it. And I would love to, at a future date, maybe just do something more in depth. Because my whole focus is really just to help people. The suffering and the strain on our healthcare system that COVID has really exposed has been growing for decades. Our life expectancy has actually been dropping in the US. And we're spending more for healthcare and getting less return than ever. So I'm hoping to help people on a personal level, as well as, trying to influence policy as well, but mainly on a personal level, just to stop unnecessary suffering.
Cheryl, can you put in the chat how to get your book or how to pre-order?
Sure. I will do that right now.
Okay.
But SharaAguirre.com, that's my website. But to get the book, just put my name on Amazon under books, Shara Aguirre, and I'll spell it and write it here, and you can pre-order. And thank you. I mean, that's a plug I wasn't expecting. So thank you, Omawale.
Thank you, Shara. That's
amen.
So
That's good, sister. You're published.
Well, as of May 25th, not yet,
Yeah,
but it's out there available.
yeah. Um,
That's good.
yeah. Um, it's a, I've had a, I guess I've had a charitable copy of the book. It is just absolutely stunning. Um, it's one of the most readable books that I have ever had. I'm going to read it to my wife. Um, and I mean, I'm not going to have her to read it. I'm going to have to read it to her. But anyway, I thank you so much, Sarah. All of us are hugely indebted to you in this quest to prevent uh, needless suffering. We thank you for it. Um, so, folks, going forward, we're just about out of time. I wanted to say that we're going to have Miss Brenda to help us with a calendar so we can get some of these things on our future agendas. Um, I wanted to mention too that there's an effort in the United States Congress to make Lift Every Voice and Sing the nation's national hymn. And of course, I wanted to find out not today, but in the future, what you all think about the effort to make Lift Every Voice and Sing our national hymn.
As opposed as opposed to it being the national anthem or
Yes,
the
yeah,
national mayhem.
um, yeah, okay, all right there. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, I tell you what. Um, yeah, so the national anthem would continue as
Oh,
the national anthem, but this
oh,
would be the national hymn
oh.
of the country. You know, it kind of like unspoken, like My Country Tears of Thee, but this would be officially endorsed by the United States Congress. We got to get it done before 2022 because we don't know what's going to change by 2022 if the Congress changes. So at any rate, um, Ms. Brandley, we're going to conclude with, we do have action points. I will be trying to move that agenda. I see Ms. Brandley has put in a Valentine's Day Democratic Party fundraiser. Ms. Brandley, is there anything you want to say about that or just ask people to participate? Okay, evidently she's muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. They can go in and to reserve their seat and purchase their ticket online. This will be a virtual event.
Okay, yeah. Well, we definitely want to endorse that effort, and hopefully, many of us as possible will participate with that. We're probably getting ready to close. Yes, ma'am. Somebody's talking.
I wanted to request, is there a way that we could get a copy of this agenda? There's some things on there that would be useful. I didn't see a way to print it.
I can send it to you.
All right.
Okay,
Please
so
send it to everybody because
Yeah,
I'm going to send it out to everyone, and actually I could attach it in the chat and everyone can download it and save it themselves. I can send it right now in the chat.
okay, wonderful, wonderful, Ms. Bradley. Okay, folks, if you all have any, this is probably the last opportunity. It's kind of like that last exit you get going from the freeway to the Beltway. You got one free exit, so this is your last opportunity. If you have a closing comment today. Okay, Ms. Brandon's gonna close us out. I'll be in touch with Dr. Brad Butler and the team that's gonna pioneer the flipping strategy presentation. There's some other things once you get the agenda that to show you that are in progress. And so you will be able to call and talk to me or anyone associated with that because I do have names by some future presentations that we're going to have. So our next date will be, I'm looking at the calendar here, is that February the 6th? Okay, February the 6th on Saturday. Okay, please mark your calendar.
Is it the second, I thought it was the second and fourth.
Oh no, that's for the CAST systems book study,
Right,
Dr. Butler.
Yeah, we do it every other Saturday.
every other Saturday, okay.
All right then. Okay, well, thanks a lot, and thanks for your very succinct but revealing educational presentation about the your strategy. So we thank you for that, and we will be in communication, and I will also be reaching out to some of the people who were absent today to find out how they want to weigh in on that. So with no further ado, Miss Amanda Gordon. So Ms. Brenda be bringing up Miss Amanda Gordon.
Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny Black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if only we dare it, because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust, for while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So, while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. With every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the West. We will rise from the wind-swept Northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
What a gift.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Brandley.
Awesome.
God bless Amanda. God bless America. God bless the world. God bless the Biden-Harris team. We'll see you all on February 6th, people.
All righty, everybody have a good one.
Be well, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Omawale,
you,
you know that
Stanley.
Omawale, you know that was a joke, man. He's gone already. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.